Good afternoon and welcome. I obviously am going to let a few folks join the live, but I'm really excited to talk with today's guest. We are actually at CCS together at the same time, and we're going to get started with another CCS Alumni Live. So, CCS Alumni Live it's not recurring at the same day, but it's a recurring conversation where I talk live with CCS graduates about their career journey. So, what they were like in high school, what they were doing at CCS, and what they're doing now in their careers. And today we have a very special guest from our illustration department who I'm going to introduce before I bring him onto the live. So, today we'll be chatting with Scott Everett. Scott graduated from CCS with his degree in illustration in 2012, and he is a Detroit-based illustrator. He's also a graphic designer, and as a professional illustrator, he classifies himself as really a generalist because he can work in a lot of different mediums, and he has a really diverse set of skills and styles that he works with. But then as a professional graphic designer, he has experience working on advertising, social media, merchandising, branding, web design, and more. He currently works as a user interface and user experience designer at Sevilla, which is a social innovation, human-centered design company here in Detroit. So without further ado, I am going to add Scott to the live here. Hey, Scott, how are you?
Hi, Brandy. Nice to see you.
It's good to see you too. You like you're somewhere sunny.
Oh, yeah. I'm outside
Is
my
that in
house.
Detroit?
Yeah,
It
I'm
looks
outside.
brighter wherever you are than it is where I am. Well, I'm excited to chat with you today. I know we have a few folks joining the live. So before we get started, I want to let folks know that as you're watching, we're going to start off with some general questions for Scott. I know some of you also sent questions ahead of time, but if you're watching the live now, this is a great opportunity to ask the questions that you have about illustration, design, and more. So we're going to get Scott's journey and then get his insights on your questions. So make sure to click that little question box at the bottom of the screen and add your questions so we can ask them to Scott. So Scott, what do you refer to yourself as? Because when I was reading your bio, I was like, okay,
Mhm.
illustrator, graphic designer, user interface designer, user experience designer. Like, is there a term that you use to describe yourself, or
Yeah, I guess I'll call it a journeyman. I don't know.
a jack of all
No,
trades?
yeah, jack of all trades. That's what I usually like to call myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And it's
it,
true. Looking at your portfolio, it's pretty diverse.
yeah, it's gotten a lot more diverse as the years gone by. I dabble a lot.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, with that being the case, bring us up to speed with what you're currently doing in your career. What does your day-to-day life look like as a user experience designer for Sevilla?
Uh, exactly how my resume looks. Honestly, I'm more of the support person for Sevilla. So, if there's any type of visual aids that need to be created or graphs, illustrations, I honestly didn't know that I was going to be doing as much illustration as I do now. But I'm also a UX UI designer as well for some of the projects.
So you're doing a bit of like traditional illustration and
Hmm.
design.
Yes,
Was that
yeah,
something that you saw yourself doing when you were preparing to step into your career? Did you want to do both digital and traditional?
not at all.
What was your goal?
I learned early on in being at CCS that I didn't like drawing as much as I thought I did, but yet I was in the illustration department. So I did a slight pivot to graphic design, try to figure out how to integrate graphic design into illustration, and so I started liking graphic design.
Mm-hmm.
And then with coming to Sevilla, they relied on my illustration that I did a long time ago. So
Mm-hmm.
that really has come on into the forefront since
So
then.
it's good that you had that experience
Oh
because
yeah,
with your career, you've done a lot of different things.
oh yeah.
Okay. So tell me a little bit about what I know you're doing some traditional things as far as illustration and graphic design for
Hmm.
Sevilla, but it's not the average design firm. When people think of a design firm, they probably aren't thinking about Sevilla. So can you tell
Hmm.
us a little bit about like human-centered design and what you're creating visuals for?
So Sevilla is a human-centered design agency. We like to focus a lot on getting deeper into a problem so we can get a more long-lasting solution. So in order to do that, we have to focus on the actual human portion of it. And in order to do that, we have to talk to them. So a lot of Sevilla is based upon talking to people, figuring out what their needs are, and yeah.
Awesome. Cool. What would you say is the hardest part about your job?
Hmm. Well, it used to be hard because I'm more of a I like to, what do you call it? I don't want to say secluded. What's the word? Introverted.
Introvert?
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I'm more of an introvert, but and being around a lot of them at Sevilla, it's a lot of talking. It's a lot of like getting to know each other and getting to know like strangers. To be honest with you, and I actually learned a lot and actually started to like talking to strangers and stuff. So it's fun.
So a personal adjustment.
It's definitely been a personal adjustment.
So you've been out of CCS for a while now, since 2012. What would you say has been your favorite assignment in your career to date? Or favorite project to work on, favorite client to work for?
Um, well, at CCS, I can literally I can only pinpoint one project, which made me like basically pivot. Which I was in a class. I forgot what it was. I forgot what it actually was, but I know that my project wasn't anything that they were asking me to do. But I did some illustrations for a beer company that I made up, and I decided to do the packaging and decided to do the illustrations. I decided to do the graphic design, and I actually like created a physical three sets of six beers. And so that was really what that project was really hard to do, and it was really time intensive. But I used a lot of the skills that I was excited to use when I got in got into the workforce.
And I've seen that work is on Behance. I've seen that
Hmm.
project you had. It was really
Yeah,
nice.
I love that one.
Yeah, strong work. All right, so you do a lot of personal work too outside
Hmm.
of your work for your career. And is it okay for me to share your Instagram with folks who are watching?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so if you want to catch Scott's work, especially his personal work, is it at underscore Weston Art or just at Weston Art?
I think it's just Western art.
At Weston Art.
Hmm.
So Wesson Art.
Yep.
Amazing stuff.
Thanks.
You show not only final pieces but also your process, which is nice.
Yeah.
So, as somebody who has a day job in art but also doing art on your own, what keeps you motivated to keep sketching and drawing and sharing your process?
Um, I think it's half actually finding a job that I really am passionate about and enjoy going to, and so I don't have to worry about like when's the next paycheck or when's this next meal come in and stuff like that. So it actually allowed me to figure out a style and explore a little bit. During CCS, like I said before, I didn't really have like a style. I knew I was decent at drawing. I knew I could, if someone handed me something to draw, I could do it. But it's been hard trying to figure out a style, personal style, or something that I enjoy doing every day. And so that's why, like lately, I've been just drawing a lot more, doodling, sketching, you know, getting things to completion, or just letting it sit for a
Mm,
while.
that's nice. It has
Mm,
been inspiring to see. I always love when artists share their process. Like, this is the idea I had, and then this is like, speed sketching
mm,
essentially. It shows how much work goes into an illustration, but also how you can take an image and then reinterpret that creatively, which you're really great at.
yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing that. All
The
right.
process is very
So
important.
yeah, for sure, for sure.
Mm.
And the school will drill that into anyone.
Show, yep, exactly. Show your work.
Alrighty, so this is the portion of CCS Alumni Live where we hop in my imaginary time machine and rewind a few decades. Maybe not decades, I don't know how old you are. But we rewind back to high school. And I just want to learn a little bit about what you were doing in high school, because a lot of students who, may watch this may be in high school now and may not know what they want to do in the future or where their creativity will lead. So what were you doing in high school? Did you have art classes? Were you drawing on your own? Tell us a little bit
Yeah.
about high school, Scott.
High school, it was a love-hate relationship with art, because my mom noticed early on that I was really good at drawing and just being an artist in general. And so I had to actually go to a different high school that I was supposed to go to with my friends because they had a better art program.
Mm-hmm.
It turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made in my life, but it was definitely hard. It was a hard
Mm-hmm.
decision to make.
And
Um,
then
yeah, I
you
went
keep going.
AP art classes. Stayed in that art room. That's where I tried a lot of stuff. I had a teacher, Miss Dolly Boyle, who challenged me to do a lot of different things. It's honestly probably where I get all my dabbling from, because different materials, oils, acrylics, charcoals, pen, paper, like everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then in high school, did you have a dream job or career that you wanted to do when you graduated? Or you're like, I just want to create.
Nah, I just wanted to create. I knew that it was. I knew it was gonna go somewhere. I knew that was the only thing I was good at. So yeah, it had to go somewhere. So just focus.
Okay, and so tell me this, what made you apply to and choose CCS?
See, so we're going back far, even
I told you we're getting in the
though.
time machine.
I went to after graduating from high school, I went to college, community college for 2 years.
Hmm.
So, and that was another one of those big steps because I learned a lot there with was portrait drawing, charcoal, learning form and shape, um, and then we had a portfolio day. And I'm originally from Detroit, but I moved. I was in Arizona at the time. And there was a portfolio day, and I forgot who the actual counselor was there, but she got me excited about CCS.
Hmm. Well, I'm glad she
And
did.
yeah, it was easy. I lived here before, and I
Now,
stayed here.
question, when you were at that portfolio day, were you already planning to transfer to college, or was that something that just occurred to you in that event? Was it something
Oh,
you were working towards doing?
that was my next step, was college, going to get into a bigger college.
Awesome. Awesome.
Mhm.
That's cool to know. I did not realize you're a transfer student, but it's always
Yep,
good to know. I know
yep.
we did another alumni live with Aston, and he was sharing that he was a transfer student. I was like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
It's always helpful to know for students, like, your path will get you to where you need to be creatively. It doesn't have to be immediately 4 years after high school. Some
Nope.
students take 5 years, 6 years, some students transfer. So there's a journey for everyone.
I always suggest, if anybody asks me, I always suggest go to 2 years if you can do it. It's cheaper, and you'll learn a lot.
Yeah, you do
Learn
learn
to
a lot.
sing.
It's cheaper depending on the student situation, and we
That's
have
true.
admissions can talk to you about that. But yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
Uh, Alrighty, so I'm just going to ask a couple more questions. I know we have some questions that folks sent ahead of time, so I want to make sure to get to those. So what is one thing that you learned or gained from CCS that has really impacted your life, whether that's your personal life or your creative journey?
Hmm.
And spouses don't count. I tell everybody that.
Oh, this. Okay. I
We
was
have a
gonna
few
say
folks
because
we talk to whose spouses come from CCS.
I was
Does
like,
that count on my interview?
if I didn't go to CCS, I wouldn't have my son.
That's true. That is true.
And Ace is in there as well. Um, I think that it was the constant amount. I needed a constant amount of projects to go on, and CCS has literally unlimited amount of dedicated professors and people who are just interested in helping you grow by giving you like some really creative projects. So those are the things that I really hope for. Whenever I stepped into a new classroom.
That's awesome.
How's it going?
All right, one last question for me, and then I'm going to open it up to our audience. So, if
Hmm.
you could give either
Thank you.
yourself as a high school student, yourself at 18, or
You too.
just any high school student advice about pursuing their creativity or going to an art school, what advice
Mm.
would you give?
Um, This is more or less personal. I was hesitant about going to school because I didn't have a style, and I just knew that I was just decent at something. So, if you're worried about because you're not that great at a style, or you're lacking in some attribute of drawing, don't worry about it, because you have all the time in your life to figure it out,
That's good
and you will get
advice.
there.
And you're a testament to that.
Yeah.
All right, folks. So I'm going to pull up some of the questions that we have. And some may step into the admissions world, so I can provide some additional insights too. But Biocon Art asks, how should freshman students prepare for their first year in illustration? So do you have any
Hmm.
advice for how students should prepare for their first year?
Before going to college,
Mm-hmm.
um, I say get your foundations, like get really good at your foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Understanding space, concepts. Um, yeah, just get really good at your foundations. You're gonna be great. You
I
have a
think
great
that's
place
great
to start.
advice. Yeah. Yeah, because that helps with the portfolio, and that's a big part of the admissions process.
Hmm.
Um, and to your point before of not worrying about a style, it's a great time to explore before you step into college. So draw, sketch,
Yeah, do the
like
crazy
try
stuff.
different things. Yeah. Awesome. All righty. Let's see. Joshua Beeler asks, what does the work-life balance of an illustrator look like? That's a good question.
um, I don't know. That one's kind of. I still haven't. Unfortunately, I still haven't decided that I'm taking on that I'm an illustrator
Right.
just yet. But work life balance, as far as just being an artist in general,
Hmm.
um, I always say set your space up so that you feel as most comfortable to start. Um, have the temperature right, have your materials right next to you at all times. Just yeah, getting calm and collected.
Do you have like a dedicated studio space that or not even like when I know some people think of studio and they think of like the four walls but like, do you have a
Hmm.
dedicated space where you go to produce your work?
Yeah, wherever it gives me the most energy.
Hmm. Hmm.
So my desk, sometimes it's the couch. Yeah.
Hmm. All right, I see Carla asked, what is your favorite project post college? So I know you mentioned the
Post
beer
college.
packaging project as your
Yeah.
favorite CCS assignment. What's been your favorite project since graduating?
Hmm. Man, this was hard. Um. Hmm. Favorite. Oh man, I don't know. I don't. Oh, I honestly, can you come back to that one? I had
We
to think
sure
about that
can. You're like, I've
one.
worked on so many things.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Oh, this is more of an admissions question for illustration students. Someone asked, are there any specific requirements that you would need for a laptop in illustration prior to taking classes? Now, I know from an admissions standpoint, we don't recommend that illustration students buy a laptop prior to coming to CCS.
Mm,
We only have requirements for advertising and communications design.
mm-hmm.
For students who are in the program, we typically advise that they wait, they're in classes, they see what they're working on from an
Mm,
assignment standpoint, see what their faculty are telling them to use before purchasing a laptop. But still, it's not required because we have 24-hour computer labs where they can
right.
do most of their work.
Yep.
Did you have a laptop when you were a student?
Yeah, I did. I
And did you
definitely.
come in with one?
Yeah, that was my first MacBook.
It's probably
Yep.
a much different model than we're using now,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah. It's a paperweight. It's a paperweight now.
What kind of equipment do you use now on a daily basis? Like, do you use a desktop, a laptop, a Mac?
I love this iPad Pro. I'm definitely digging the iPad Pro. It's definitely expanded my creativity a lot, as you can see from from Instagram and whatnot. Like that's the only reason why. That's one of the only reasons why I'm doing a lot of art nowadays. Is because it's just so easy to start drawing start drawing digitally, and it's something I've
Hmm.
always been doing since CCS. So
I'm sure that's one thing that's cool about the advent of, well, tablets in general, but iPad Pro, because it's such an accessible technology,
sorry, it
you have
broke up
access
a
to a
little bit.
bunch of, uh-oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me?
Hmm.
Oh, okay. But you have access to a bunch of, tools and techniques that if you were doing it traditionally, you would have to go buy a bunch of different paints and brushes, etc. But with iPad, you can swap brushes and, colors and mediums digitally pretty easily. So it allows you to do a lot of different things. So I see a few more questions coming in. What would you say was the most challenging part of taking an illustration class? This true.
Did you hear me?
No, you went out for a little bit. I heard you say there's no substitution for the real thing, which I agree with. But
How about
then I
now?
didn't hear your answer to the most challenging part. Now I can hear you.
Yeah. Just being around a whole bunch of other really really good illustrators.
That
Yeah.
kind of that intimidation factor.
Yeah, but it's there's no competition. There's no it's all made up in your head. Like it's no.
So you're all there to learn.
Yeah, you're all there to learn.
Um,
You're all there at different levels.
and then the same artist, Aaliyah asked, "What did you find was the most interesting when taking an illustration class? What did you find most interesting?"
I feel like I came in at a time where digital design, I don't know, digital illustration and all that started coming up, and all the cool programs and started like being really robust and awesome. Um, so that like trying to figure out how to implement those things, those digital things into illustration was my favorite part.
Hmm. All right, we have some more questions. Black on Black Dreams asks, how do you balance illustrating for work versus personal versus commissioned pieces? How you balance all those different types of work that you're doing?
Uh, how do I balance all those?
You're like, how do I?
How do I balance all those? Um, I like well one, I like to try to keep work at work. I don't I try to get as much as I can get done at work. And so that frees me up to actually do those two things whenever I would like to. So,
Hmm.
yeah. I think tackling the bigger thing, which is the thing that takes up the most time, which is work, is 8 hours a day. So if you can figure out how to if you can figure that out, then you'll be good.
Yeah, maximize your time that you're doing for the nine to
Mm-hmm.
five.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. All right. Era Doodles asks, for projects in your career, do you find yourself working more digitally or more with traditional tools?
Um, in my career starting up, it was a lot of before the iPad. It was a lot of I got back into doing a lot of drawing, pen and paper, and ink and stuff. But what was cool about that is that I could actually translate that in the iPad when I got it. So I grabbed like a Sharpie. I used a lot of Sharpie, so I made a Sharpie brush on Procreate. So try to I don't want to say fake it, but try to take some of those traditional tools and convert them into digital tools and make them look the same.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Alrighty. These are some great questions that folks have been sending in. So we're gonna go
Hard
back to that
questions.
question that you asked for some more time on. I didn't forget about it. So in your career to date, what's been your favorite project to work on? Or just your most memorable, something that just stands out as a project that you've worked on?
Man, it's that one. It's such a hard question because Man, I'm just trying to go through the catalog.
Or maybe a
Ooh,
favorite
ooh,
personal
ooh, ooh.
project that you've worked
Okay,
on too.
there was one. It didn't turn out very. It didn't turn out great, but Atwater Beer Company sent me asked me to do a illustration for their beer packaging, which was really cool. They had like some pretty cool prompts. The first one wasn't that great, but I got to do there was a beer called Voodoo Vader, and I had a cool concept of mixing Voodoo Doctor, uh, Voodoo Doctor holding a skull, but it never, it actually got made and whatnot. I did go get it packed, but it didn't get distributed very widely. I think that's on my page as well.
That's cool though.
That was one of my favorite projects. It made me think a
Well,
lot.
and that's cool because one of your favorite projects in school was working on beer packaging, and then you
Yeah.
did it in the real world for an actual
Yep.
client.
Yep.
So that's cool.
Yep.
That means that class paid off.
It paid off dividends.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, is there anything else that you want to share with any creative high school students or potential transfer students before we hop off today?
uh, um, uh, Stick to your guns. Don't worry about not having a style. Just practice every day. And doodle every day. That's what I'm working on that right now. It's something it's probably why I haven't had a style is because I just didn't draw every day. And now that I'm doing, I can see the huge difference of just practicing.
Mm-hmm. Putting pen to paper.
Pen to paper.
Well, Scott, I appreciate you taking this time to chat with us today
Of
and
course.
answer all of our questions about illustration and design. Um, I know it's always a joy to see you when I run into the folks at Sevilla. So
Yeah.
thanks. And I just want to say that I know that this recording will be saved. It'll be on my page for the 24 hours, but we'll eventually upload it to CCS's admissions YouTube
Oh
channel.
God.
So for folks who want to watch again in the future,
Oh,
this will be saved. And I know someday someone's going to watch this and they're going to hear your words and be inspired to create and sketch every day and pursue their creative dreams. So thanks
man,
for
that
sharing your
warms my heart
experience
to
with me.
hear.
It's true. It's true. All right, Scott. Well, I will talk to you later. And everybody else, thanks so much for
There you go.
tuning in. Also want to remind you all, a special bonus announcement for folks who are torn between majors. Maybe you're interested in graphic design and illustration or in animation and digital film. Maybe you have a few different majors you're torn between. We actually have a webinar tonight at 7 p.m. Called The Difference Between. So if you're interested, go to CCS's website, collegeforcreativestudies.edu/visit to sign up for our webinar so we can help you with some insights and learn about what major may be the best fit for you. All right, everyone. I will see you this Friday for our next CCS Alumni Live. Bye.
There you
Thanks
go.
for tuning in. Bye,
Thanks.
Scott.